Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to TLP Live on this wonderful Sunday afternoon. Hey, Paul, how are we doing?
Hey, Dan. Happy Sunday to you, my friend.
You know, this has been the most dreary week. I actually went out to start the furnace and realized that I hadn't done my pre-service on it, so it didn't work. So I got some wood in, and we had fire going in the fireplace like almost every night this week.
Isn't that just like the Midwest, right, Dan? The minute that the Labor Day ends, the winter just is right there for us to greet us, and I'm not happy about it. I mean, can it?
Yeah.
Although today actually is a very lovely day, nice and sunny, high 70s. So that's what I like. I like to have a little bit more of that if possible.
Yeah, we tailgated. Of course, today was the opening of the NFL season. And so we tailgated on the deck. Of course, with COVID, there were no fans in the stands today for opening day. And well, was it in Chicago or was it up in?
Today was in Detroit for the Bears.
Detroit. And then Packers were in they were in St. Paul or Minneapolis. So next week we're both home, and we'll have another tailgate on the deck.
Nice. Well, we won today, so you guys absolutely earned your win. I would not say the same about the Bears, but we got the win.
Yeah, there we go. So there we are again, Bears and Packers on top of the NFC Central or North or whatever one we are.
Yeah.
Hey, I wanted to mention we got a couple birthdays. We should start doing birthdays, alumni birthdays and such. So yesterday we had a birthday, a TLP board member, actor, musician, Joe Titus. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Joe T.
And also another actor yesterday. He's been with us 2 or 3 shows as a guest actor, Paul Vandervennet. Paul's down in Florida now, so we don't see as much of him. And today's birthday, a TLP lighting designer and actor, my son Ben, birthday today.
His birthday?
Yeah.
All right. Well, happy birthday, Ben D. Hope you're having a good day, my friend.
So happy birthdays to Ben, Joe, and Paul, and anyone else we missed. Give us your birthdays, and it'll be a new feature on TLP Live. I've been thinking about new features. What do you think of this one? Bad dad jokes.
Anything that starts with bad, I'm not sure, Dan.
Okay, well, all right. So we'll check into that.
How about not the funniest jokes?
Yeah, that would probably be right. So, what's new with you? What's new with TLP that we haven't let people know?
Well, Dan, we're getting ready to go into start planning for the next season, and we've been continuously working on our shops. We've got Tristan and I have been working on. We're in the scene shop now. And the prop loft is done. The new prop, the Bandland is getting ready for paint. The prop shop is completed, so now we're on to the scene shop. So we're very excited about that. Next week, I'll bring some pictures in so we can kind of give our audiences an update of what's going on in there. And then this weekend, I actually went and visited my parents. So I had a really great time. I haven't seen them since April. And the last time I saw them, when this whole thing was getting ready to go down early April, we just waved at each other at about, 12 feet away. They were behind the glass door. And so that was the extent I got to see them for about 5 minutes. So it was good. It was good to see them. And my mom made a beautiful Italian dinner and pasta, meatballs, the whole 9. And so she spoiled Felicia and I rotten with her great cooking. And so it was a really great weekend to be able to see them.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we're also working on our new website.
Yes, we are.
We will have a new website ready to come out in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully, a little more updated design. And we've been looking at any of the navigation issues that we had with our old template, and looking at cleaning up all the navigation issues and making sure that it's easy to move through. Of course, we'll expect a few, what would you call it, snafus when it first comes up, but we'll be all right here to take care of it as they do.
Well, I'm really excited about this website, Dan. Yourself, Ben Danielowski, and Bill Titus and I have been all been hands on deck, building it, designing it. And I really think that we took a lot of the feedback that we had from our patrons and of what was not working with it, where it was snafuing out. And I think we really have been able to address most, if not all, of the problems. And I think when we launch this site, our audiences are going to really love it. But like Dan said, if there's any snafus, please give us your feedback and allow us to grow it. You know, it'll be a process to put the whole thing up, because it's going to be a big website. It's going to have rental arms. It's going to have galleries. It's going to have information of our past shows. But the most important thing is that we get our 2021 season up with all of our events, concerts, so that our patrons can go ahead and purchase their subscription tickets for next season. So that'll be the main thing that we'll get going, and we'll build on that as we go.
And we're going to time putting out the website with putting our subscriptions on sale. So stay tuned for more information on that. We're working on building. Those of you that had asked us to transfer your 2020 subscriptions to 21, we're working on those right now. And for those of you that have asked us to take care of them in other ways, all of that should be done by this point. So once that transfer is done and we roll over our subscriptions, so those of you that have the traditional subscriptions get your same seats and your same days every show, we'll be ready to go.
That's right. And Dan, we also are going to be able to advertise our upcoming programming that we have for the rest of this year. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the things we're going to have coming up at the end of the show, but that's also going to be coming up on the website. So we're really excited about introducing the streaming programming. So while we are still in COVID and we are still remaining socially distanced, we still want to be able to bring entertainment to our audiences. And we had such great feedback from our gala that I'm really excited about some of the programs we have coming up. So we'll talk about that later on in the show.
Very good. Well, speaking of the show, let's get going. We've got two great guests here tonight. Our first guest is, he was with us, started in the 2010 season, was with us for 3 seasons. And he has been back for a guest actor several times. And also, he, I think for 2 years maybe, he was one of our guest hosts for the gala. PLP favorite, Tyler Sawyer Smith. Hey.
Hi.
How are we doing?
Hi, I'm well.
Well, it's very, very good to see you.
I love the hairdo. You're sporting something really nice.
Thank you. As an actor, I never get to do whatever I want with my hair. So now that I have all this free time, I just made myself a My Little Pony.
Dan, I think I should take a page out of Sawyer's and do something with my hair. It's time. You're looking.
I think you'd look good in this do.
You think so?
You've got those good curls.
It would work. It would work.
Well,
so Tyler, you came to us in 2010. Where'd you go to school?
I went to school at the Chicago College of Performing Arts at Roosevelt University.
Very good. And of course, there the major is in
musical theater.
Musical theater.
A BFA in musical theater. Yes.
Very good. Very good. So how'd you get to Timberlake?
I had wanted to work at Timberlake for a long time. I don't know how or why. I think a friend of mine had worked there. And so I got it in my head. I was like, I'm going to do summer stock this summer and I want to work at Timberlake. And so I went to Midwest Theater auditions and I sort of like geared my whole audition for it. And then I met James Beaudry and Lillian Brown. They were there casting. And pretty much on the spot, they were like, we want you to be Will Parker in Oklahoma and Mary Sunshine in Chicago and probably some other things, but we'll hash that out. And I was like, so excited. I was thrilled.
That's great. That's really great. Well, I'm interested. Sawyer, let's go back even more. How did your journey lead you to want to perform to begin with that led you to Roosevelt?
Well, that's good. I grew up in a small town in Iowa. I'm from Ottumwa, Iowa. And a lot of your viewers might remember Radar O'Reilly from MASH. So he is from Ottumwa. And it's a small little farm and meatpacking town. And I grew up dancing and singing. I would go to my sister's dance classes and I would watch in the window and then I would learn it. And the dance teacher was like, why aren't you in here doing it? So that's how I got my foot in the door. Then I started joining choir and I started doing like school plays. And we didn't have a great program at first when I was in high school. And a woman named Natalie Saunders, she took over and added the first musical back into the high school season. So I had no idea that you could do all of it together. I was like, oh, there's acting and there's singing and there's, and so I fell in love with musical theater, and she got me from Iowa to Chicago, where I auditioned for the school. And I got in, and I had no clue what I was doing. And I moved to Chicago and was completely horrified. I cried for 2 weeks straight. Like every night I cried myself to sleep because I just like missed my home and my mom and my family. But then I fell in love with Chicago, and I got some great training from a lot of the faculty at Roosevelt. And I just fell in love with the idea of like making a living doing this. And then Timberlake came into my radar, and I was like, I have to work there. And so I like to think I manifested that a little bit. And I was so lucky because Timberlake became like a great artistic home for me for like almost a decade. So it was very special.
That's amazing. And, you know, a lot of our, as you know, a lot of our resident company members have that musical theater background, but each one of them comes at it from yet a different discipline. What was yours? Was yours singing, dancing, acting? How did you find it all together at once? Did you start as a dancer, a singer?
Yeah, I started with dancing, and then I went into acting as a child, but then pretty quickly I realized I was good at all three. And like today, if I were to tell somebody, like a casting agent, I'd be like, well, I'm an actor first, then a singer, then a dancer. Because I'm a fine dancer, but I'm not a dancer like some of the pros out there that I've seen. But I know how to move. And yeah, so I feel fairly well-rounded, which is why I think that I excelled really early on in my career, is because, well, if you didn't want me to be the lead in a show because I wasn't old enough or whatever, you could have me dance in the ensemble and then cover that part. And then as I got older, they started giving me parts. And so it was nice to grow that way, to start sort of like in the chorus and then move my way up and then sort of navigate the world we call show business.
So you got here to Timberlake. Remind
I
us,
did.
what did you do while you were here? What was your first show at Timberlake?
Well, my first show was Chicago, the 2010 season. But before that, I'd just gotten home for the little tiny break I had between school being done. And I'm from Iowa, so it's not far. We're just about 3 hours south of Clinton. So my parents drove me up to Timberlake, and I didn't know what to expect. And we like pull up, and as the closer we get to Timberlake, the more nervous I'm getting, because all I'm seeing is cornfields and trees and farms and cows. And I was like, what have I done to myself? And we pulled up, and I'm like, where's the theater? And I'm like, what's happening? And then we pulled to the back. And I was there before the big renovation with the shop, and before the pad was fenced in and all of those things. So it was a real romanticized sort of like young scrappy artist thing that I was like, what am I going to do? And then I met my roommate, Tate Ellis, who is no longer with us, who was my roommate for 3 seasons. He was an amazing costume designer. So he was amazing. We loved him. And I fell in love. I was just like, oh, this place is wonderful. It's like camp for adults, where you get to do theater, and then at the end of the night you get to unwind by the fire, and every morning you wake up and you can go for a run or do some sort of physical activity, and then you start rehearsal. And it's such a like a microcosm of a space that like there's nothing for you to focus on besides the work and creating and building these relationships. And I think that's what makes Timberlake so special, is like you're in a totally different universe. You're surrounded by creativity and art. And, you know, it gets tough sometimes, the way anything does. But I think that I learned so much from those really late nights where I'm still working on a dance piece that I haven't figured out, but we've got to paint the set, or, oh, this has to be moved, or the cafeteria is flooding. Everybody start getting a broom. And those things like really, they put into perspective like what's important, and like that, you know, you got to get a little down and dirty to get things done.
Absolutely. And, you know, talk to us a little bit about, so you come to Timberlake, and, you know, you're probably early on in your career. You're nervous. You're not really familiar. What did Timberlake? How did it help Timberlake help you find your process as a performer? You know, obviously, you know the drill. We're really the same. You know, you work a lot of hours. You have to work in the shop. You have to work on the show you're presently working on, and then once that opens, you jump into the rehearsals for the next show. How did that help inform your process in your later career after?
I think that what I really enjoy that I've tried to tell people when they talk about wanting to go do summer stock like that, Timberlake's schedule is within a second of its life. You know what I mean? There's no time like, oh, we'll put that choreography number off till tomorrow. It's like, we got to get it up, because you have essentially a week and a half to stage a show, and then you start teching it. So there's no room for really any error. So you have to make choices. You have to make strong choices, and you have to make them fast. You can't be afraid that, like, oh, well, what does somebody think of like this, or do I sound good on this, or is this? It's like, you just dive in, and then you figure out the rest as you go. And I think that's really helped me as an actor in my later life. Like, I mean, specifically one of the last plays I did, I was lucky to work at a show at the Steppenwolf with Tina Landau and Terrell Alvin McCraney, and it was a new play. So every day I was getting like new, like 5-page monologues and new choreography and new costumes and new sets. And so Timberlake prepared me for that, and that it's like, nothing is precious, and there's no use in worrying and stressing over it. Just do it. You just got to jump in, and you've got to make a choice. And then if it's the wrong choice, you'll know very quickly. And I think that's what Timberlake is really good at, is that it drives your focus so laser point that you're like, all right, we're doing this, we're doing this. The first show I did was Chicago, and I played Mary Sunshine. And the way Mary Sunshine is usually done is not how we were doing it, where, you know, physically I didn't look like who's normally cast as Mary Sunshine, and comedically I'm not what it was. And so I was getting really frustrated when we were doing A Little Bit of Good the first day on the pad. And I remember like getting frustrated with myself, and Jim was like looking at me, and I was like, Jim, can I ask you a favor? And he's like, yeah. I was like, can I just go away for the afternoon? Like, just let me go, like move on to something else that I'm not in. I just need like 2 hours to like find my way into this. And so I realized in Chicago, everybody's singing about something that it's not, right? It's Billy singing like, all I care about is love, but he doesn't. And Mama's like, when you're good to Mama, but you've got to do something for her. Everybody's singing about something, but really their life is different. And I'm like, why is Mary Sunshine different? Why is her number just always this operetta that comes out of nowhere that's kind of funny and goes away? And so I was like, what if it was like Carol Burnett, like when Carol Burnett plays Norma Desmond, and just everything's going wrong, and through all this sort of stuff happening to her, like my heel would come off in the middle of the number, and I'd have to run back and act like it didn't, or my hand got caught in the pearls, and my wig was starting to tug, and like I was tripping over things. And if someone is going through all of that baloney, but they're singing about how wonderful everything is, like, I'm like, that's funny. I think that that's a way I can find my way into that role.
That's a great process. What a great story. Thanks for sharing.
Of course.
So what else did you do here? You did Chicago when you first came. You must have been cast in quite a bit that summer.
Yeah, the first summer I did Chicago. I did the TYA Charlotte's Web. I got to play Templeton, which was a dream because I love Paul Lynde in the original cartoon. And then I was Will Parker in Oklahoma, which was really exciting. And then I played a character named Randy in Curtains. And then I actually broke my leg at the end of that summer. And the character I was playing like is supposed to like faux get hurt, but I actually did break my leg. So we had to like alter like choreography and all sorts of crazy things. It was a true Timberlake, just like perfect bow tie to the end of the season.
And you went on stage. You still went on stage. You didn't let that broken leg stop you.
Well, there was no one to cover to cover me. I was covering somebody else because my first two shows, like I was like big lead characters, and I was like a more tertiary character. So they didn't have someone to cover me. But then somebody did. The one night I had to go to the hospital, the poor guy, his name was Colin, had to go on stage, and he's like singing Kansas Land, and he's got the music in his hands, but they made it work. And also another girl, the woman who played our Velma Kelly, Andrea Leach, she also broke her leg, or she sprained her ankle. She did something. So we had a local girl who was in Oklahoma, is like an ensemble dancer named Lauren. And she was just like under the age bracket of like, oh, you can't be like assistant, or what did they call it at the time, protege or something. But she was really good, so they brought her in, and she was like the same size as Andrea. So she replaced Andrea, but they didn't have somebody like that for me. So they just altered the scene. So I was always like leaning on something, or I was in a wheelbarrow that was part of the set piece that I was like giving orders on. It was outrageous and amazing.
So did you break your leg during rehearsal or at a show?
I
or
did.
Out poking around?
They had these big, I mean, it was a little bit of goofing around and a little bit of rehearsal. They had these crates that were from Oklahoma that were also going to be used in the like Kansas land number and curtains, but they were like made so they were not like any stage crates I've ever used. It was like you could have put an elephant on it. It was like nothing was going to break this crate, not even my leg. And so they were trying to figure out this part, because like I was supposed to be like the dancer in the show. So I was like trying to figure out like how many pirouettes I could get around and still with enough time to like say this next line. So I was like doing that, and I started to lose my balance. So I fouetted my leg. I like kicked it out as I was turning, and the front of my left shin just caught the corner of it. And like a little like tiny clementine sized orange just like appeared on my shin.
Oh boy.
That's
It was lovely.
Yeah.
But I stayed. They were like, do you want to go home? Do you want to finish the season? I was like, no.
That's what, you know what, we are like athletes, aren't we? They say that we just don't get the professional athletic money, but we are athletes every single day out there going through the pains, the breaks, the sprains, and we're out there on stage the very next day. Tyler, you said you went on to do Steppenwolf, which is an amazing Chicago theater. Tell us about what happened after Timberlake and your journey to get you on to where you are today.
Timberlake opened a lot of doors in that I was working with we would bring in guest artists, and we would bring in directors and choreographers from Chicago. So I was very lucky to get my foot in the door. And actually my very first show that I ever did professionally in Chicago was Pippin, the first time I did Pippin. And it was with Brenda Didier, who used to be a choreographer at Timberlake. And she was looking for two dancers, one to play Louis, the stepbrother in Pippin, and one to be like the featured ensemble dancer who would sort of lead this big dance in the middle of Act 1. And so my friend Kelsey and I were there, and Jim was like, hey, I've got these two people. They're in tech starting tomorrow. So like, if you can get them on a Monday, I'll give them my car. They're going to drive into the city and audition. So Kelsey and I got up at like 4 a.m, and we like packed into this car with our dance clothes and our audition books. We drive into the city. We meet Brenda, we do the audition, and we booked it. We were very lucky. And from there on, I met Brenda and other things. And so because of all of that, I've been lucky to do so many shows here in Chicago. I've worked at the Marriott, I've worked at Drury Lane, I've worked at the Paramount, the Steppenwolf, the Mercury Theater. I've worked at Royal George on several different things. And almost in every production I've been a part of, there's a connection to TLP somewhere, whether it's another actor, or it's a stage manager, or it's choreographer, or producers. You get all these wonderful connections, and I've been very fortunate to go on and do all of those things.
And your career has also led you back to Timberlake as a guest artist, guest choreographer as well. So it seems as though your career has also evolved. So you're not only just a performer now, but you're also a creative as well.
Yeah, it's exciting. The very first show I ever choreographed was at Timberlake. It was Sweet Charity. It was my second year, and Lillian Brown directed it. And the year before, we were like, some of us were hanging out on the pad after a rehearsal, and Lil was there to do Spelling Bee. And she came out to see what was going on the pad, and it was me and my best friend Kelsey, and we were like doing the Rich Man's Frug, which one of the great things about where I went to school is two of our teachers, our professors, were like Fosse proteges, Louis Perez and Tina Paul. Both of them were in the original revival of Chicago with Anne Reinking, and they both worked with Fosse and Michael Bennett and all these people previously. So we learned all sorts of Fosse in school. So I knew the Rich Man's Frug, I knew Hey Big Spender, I knew Rhythm of Life, I knew all of these different things. And so Lil was like, I want you to choreograph that next year, and then I'll have you be Daddy Brubeck. Which in hindsight, I wish I would have just done one or the other, because Daddy Brubeck, specifically the way I played it, was like very vocally demanding. And what you don't realize as a choreographer is when you're putting things on stage, you're just constantly sort of softly shouting and your voice just gets so tired. But it was my first time choreographing, and it was such an amazing experience. And one of my favorite moments at Timber, like people always ask me, like, yes, I love being on stage. I love the costumes. I love the lights. But there was a night where we just got to the end of rehearsal and we were doing something better than this. The three girls dancing, dreaming what they would be if they didn't have to be taxi dancers. And I was like, okay, well, that's the end for tonight. I can't make you stay. And they're like, no, we want to. And then the costume designers came up and like, we want to see. And I was like, let's all do it together. And we did it like 2 or 3 more times. And just like the bugs and the lights and the sweat and just the piano, just like everybody in that moment only doing it for each other and for the sake of like creating this and making it better is so magical, and it stuck with me forever.
Great.
We got a picture of that. There's Tyler.
There I am.
In the middle of that's Rhythm of Life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. I like the green in the background too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's sweet.
Our concept for Daddy Brubeck in that cult, normally it's played by Sammy Davis Jr. in the movie, and so I didn't want to go in that direction at all. So I wanted it to be like Charles Manson. So I was like, what if they're under a bridge? Maybe it's like they're like trash is their religion. So like all of our costumes were just it was like derelict. It was just garbage and fashion, and it was very exciting.
Well, we also really appreciate that you've been back to help us several times. Here's you were emceeing our gala. This is the gala back in 2015, and I had a picture somewhere of you in the 2014 gala. You were dressed kind of in a dress with a crown on.
Oh, probably.
Yeah, yeah. And here's one of my favorite pictures of you with our
Andy
founder,
bro.
Andy. We'll get that one. We'll get that one framed and put up.
I love Andy bro.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, I want to put up a couple of comments here. So here's from Arlene Jersak. Hello, Tyler. Great to see you.
Hi, Arlene.
And from Pat Rogers Briska. Good to see Tyler again.
Hello.
And from Wes.
Hi, Wes. He was in the first season with me. He was great.
And there's from Bob Martin. And he doesn't want you to forget the Miss Andrews character.
Yes. Miss Andrews, she was so, I love being Miss Andrew.
I remember when Jim came over to the office and said, what do you think of this? And I'm like, man, sounds good to me. So
tallest Miss Andrew ever.
Oh my gosh, you were an imposing figure. Mary, Kate was talking about when you broke your leg. You were goofing.
I was goofing. Don't tell that to workers' comp. Hi, Robin. Oh, Robin, I miss you. 6 degrees of TLP. That's true. Everywhere you go in the world is sort of 6 degrees of TLP.
That's true. Well, Tyler was the tech director for, I believe, 2007, 8, and 9. And so he just missed you, but we got a chance to reconnect with Tyler, with Kyle this summer. And again, whenever I get a chance to meet an alumni, I'm really just blown away by the impact that TLP has had on them. And again, going back to something we have said before with people like yourself, where they go on and they have these great careers. It's so wonderful to hear about the stories that the TLP alumni have left there, and go on to Broadway, television, Chicago theater, like that. So we're really, really proud of you, Tyler. We're so thankful for you coming on the show tonight, and you are welcome anytime back. We'd love to bring you back because, again, you are a talent and you have really made your name in Chicago. So congratulations on all your success.
Well, I'd come back anytime you had me. I love being out in the woods.
Well, hang around. We'll bring you back later tonight yet. So don't leave us. But
I won't.
but you can go in the green room and check out the craft table.
Have a pop.
I will. I have a great soda. They already handed it to me.
That's right. Craft service.
Yes, exactly. Craft services. That would be in your own home. Well, what a wonderful interview with Tyler. It's so good to see him again. You forget how much you miss these folks until you get a chance to talk to them like this.
It really is, and it's so wonderful to hear their stories. You know, just again, everybody's got their own personal journey that they take, and when they get to Timberlake, you know, it seems to really have a powerful impact, because you know, we're talking about people that when they come to us, you know, they're usually starting off in their career. They're usually in their early 20s, you know, and that's kind of how they begin, and it's nerve-wracking. I mean, I remember the first time I went to summer stock. You're nervous. You don't know. You know you're going to be around all these people. You're going to be living with people you don't know. Are you going to like them? Are you not going to like them? And it's just so great to see that, you know, by the end of the summer, not only have they had a transformative experience, but they make these friends and these bonds that go on, and it, you know, proof is in the comments. People just remember those moments.
Absolutely. Well, our next guest is also an alumni, and she was here like in 2001, 2002, and in props. She was here throughout the like 2003 to 2009, doing some like our pre-shows and such. And then she actually came on in 2010, same year Tyler did, as our managing director for the next 3 years. Let's introduce Melissa Mattingly. Hello, Melissa.
Hello. I mean, Tyler is a hard person to follow, but I'll try.
No kidding. But he's a real easy guy to interview, I'll tell you that. He's got
and that image, I wanted to make sure if he was going to be on here. It was actually one that I remembered. It's one of my favorite TLP images from shows. When I was there, I would take the publicity photos myself, and you know, that was one of the images that, you know, that was one of those shows, Sweet Charity, that I had to stop what I was doing, no matter what, and go watch that scene, no matter what. You know, you're very, very busy. You're very, very busy at Timberlake. If you're ever at Timberlake, you're very, very busy.
Yeah.
But there's those certain moments in those shows that you just had to stop and go watch. And that scene was one for me for sure. So I'm glad you showed that.
Melissa, tell us a little bit about your background, where you were from, how you got involved in theater, how you got to Timberlake.
Sure. I'm originally from Kentucky, hence the nickname. And I went to school at Morehead State University in Kentucky. Actually, at Morehead State, we have an alumni that just won a Tony, Steve Kazee, not that long ago for once. And our school, they would teach you acting, but also you had to be a part of a crew. So they tried to make you very well-rounded. So all of our alumni had acting experience and tech experience. You had to do so many hours in shop and things like that. So I had already done 2 summer stocks, and I had one before Timberlake in 2001. I had worked and had not a very, very pleasant summer stock experience. And so I wanted to work summer stock again. And I had actually answered an ad on Backstage Jobs that Brad Lyons, artistic director, had posted. I have experience in props. So I have an art degree first, really, then theater. So I kind of stumbled into theater. When I went to college, I saw a show and was like, oh, wow, like I can make art on stage. How wonderful. And so I was hooked after I watched the first show. And so I answered an ad in 2001. And I was hired to be the properties designer for the season, which is really hard to find that kind of position then, because usually it was like scenic design or something like that. But I'm a crafts person, you know, and so that was more what I wanted to do. And what I liked about doing props is you never know each show what you need or have to find or build. And it was fun for me because, again, I was pretty well-rounded in sewing and building and tools. And so my school was one of the schools that ended earlier than most schools that Timberlake was working with. So I for that season and for seasons in the future, Brad would contact me because he knew that I had acting experience and could be a part of the preseason children's show. So for 2001, I was actually, my first show at Timberlake was Alice in Wonderland, in which I was the spy and stole the tarts. And when you experience Timberlake that way, the preseason show first, it's not very many people. It's a small cast. You're just kind of like, it was kind of a low budget, so you were just really pulling from what you had. Not that the quality was hurt or anything that way, but it was like most of the schools around that area. It was when I worked there later, I found out a lot of them, and they would tell me these wonderful stories about how that kids show that they saw in that preseason show was the first and only time they ever saw live theater in their life. And that maybe they were coming back, like for the 50th anniversary. I got that a lot. But so 2001, that's what I did. I my first night I showed up at Timberlake, and this was back in the day, and I always laugh at myself, like I sound like an old lady. I'm like, when I was at Timberlake, we didn't have Wi-Fi. We had the TLP phone booth that was right behind the theater where I guess the scene shop is now. And my cabin that I stayed in was right behind the theater in cabin 1. And those who have ever stayed in cabin 1, we should have some kind of group, because it was pretty scary. There was like raccoons and things. But I cried. I cried my first night.
I smell a Facebook group coming, Cabin 1.
Yes, right. And I don't know if there's a cabin 1 now, but that's where
that
cabin
one's
1 was.
gone.
But it was connected to the phone booth.
Yeah.
And it was the phone booth we would all use. It was, before cell phones and everything. So the first night I cried when I was there and thought, oh my gosh, what have I done? Because like how Tyler had said, you drive there, it's corn, Chicago, or, Timberlake suddenly. And I remember thinking, where do these people come? Like who? And as I was there later, I realized people are used to driving to entertainment there. They're used to going. And after I was like you, Dan, lived there, and people are comfortable driving 2 hours to do something. I mean, I had to go drive an hour, 30 minutes to go to the grocery store. That's just kind of what they did in the summer. And that was their summer experience as Timberlake. That's the thing to do there. And so I went from crying that night to at the end of the season, it just being crying because I was leaving my family. Like we literally from the beginning, one of the shows for the first show was Everybody Needs a Friend. And we started singing that preseason show to each other as we left. And it was beautiful. We were all just crying in a mess. And it was really the most, because you're there. And I had done summer stocks before, but because it's that kind of where everybody grabs a paintbrush if you need to, or something like that, where you have that community of we're all here. This is all we are here to do. And we're all there to put up the show together. And it's the only time that we were that group together to do that. It just becomes a beautiful like theater family. Plus where we're eating all together there in the caf. And so I was hooked. Like TLP to me, even now, is my theater home forever.
So
And I haven't been able to be there in a while, but
let me give you a reminiscence of your cabin 1.
Oh yes, there's part of cabin 1. So you can see there was like storage for flats back there when I was there and went. But that's what you used if you were company member in 2001 to call home, for people to call you as well, because nobody had cell phones back in my day. But to fast forward, so I always kept in contact with everyone. And so whenever I could, I would come and do a preseason show. So I did Winnie the Pooh. We did Cinderella Project Princess. And the thing is too, this is Winnie the Pooh. So I was Piglet. And that was probably one of my, like, the funnest show that I've ever been a part of, for sure. It was just because you see the children's reactions, and sometimes it's their first time seeing live shows. Plus, it's really fun backstage for us because we have a lot of downtime too, unlike during the year. So we get to play more in preseason. And then sometimes I would just come for preseason. So I didn't have the stress of getting ready for a whole summer stock in a sense. So, whenever I could, Brad and I did costumes for preseason or I built sets and painted sets. I also was in a preseason show, Treasure Island. And then later, when I came back for a full season in 2008, I actually quit a job I was doing, and Brad talked me into coming back for a full season again to do props. And because he knew he was going to be leaving and Jim was going to take over. And so he wanted me to come back for at least one full season before he left. And so I did, of course, because he could talk me into anything. And he's the one who gave me the nickname Kentucky as well. I actually had a nickname already, but he's like, I don't like that one. You're Kentucky. And so it just kind of stuck. So everybody there knows me as Kentucky. That's why I put that on my name there. But I started at Timberlake.
You said that,
and people still call me Kentucky everywhere.
Well, you said that you started with a summer stock company. You didn't have that good of an experience, and so you were, then you came to Timberlake. Not to go into too many details about the place that you didn't have a good experience, but what was it about Timberlake that changed your mind about summer stock, that was able to kind of win you over?
The people, the community was so supportive. You would think going there in the middle of the night, driving up there, that you just don't know what to think when you're there. But so many people there, there's so much support and love, and people they crave it in the summer. It's their summer thing to do there. Everybody, and as I worked, and then later on in 2010, so I knew that after being there a full season, it was one of my most amazing and hard personally, 2008 was for me, but artistically pushed. I got to direct Treasure Island, and of course, Brad cast me in shows, and you do everything. You help set up the camp and everything. There's Treasure Island. So, and because it was also Brad's he was doing his last hurrahs, I think. We kind of cast so many people in the last show, and Brad had written the children's show as well. And even one of the guys that was in Treasure Island, he was actually a lead and producer. He would be Long John and tie up his leg and then go be a lead in the producers that night. I was doing props, directing, and then I was also in the producers as two characters. I went from being the lesbian lighting designer to one of the showgirls walking down with the horns. It was the heart. And Jim, who started in 2001 as choreographer, and me as props as well. So we were both like the kids in a way. But Jim and I, for the producers, we would do the pigeon puppets backstage too. And we would be mid-change and like half naked back there, pretty much, like doing the pigeon puppets. Because, producers is a huge, that was definitely the hardest show I've ever been a part of. And I did Sweeney Todd and stuff like that. So that was definitely the hardest show to do that at Timberlake. But I was doing that and directing and doing props as well. But there's just something, because you do that there, because you're working so hard, and that's all you're doing. And everybody's sweating tears just to get these shows up. And it shows on stage. And the community there sees it. And they feel it and they love it.
So tell me about when you took over as managing director.
Yes.
Tell us about that experience.
Yes, James Beaudry, who I was dear friends with because we started together in 2001. And it's almost like the clump of people in 2001 kind of stuck together. It's like the people in, I think, 2010 did the same thing. Because also, Jim and I, so Jim was taking over for Brad, Brad Lyons was both of our mentors in our artistic careers. And, working with him at Timberlake, he's brilliant and he just propels you. And Jim then was taking over, and he had messaged me sort of kind of like, my general manager left. Anybody want to come work here? Like he was just kind of joking with me. And I was like, you know what? I love Timberlake. And by that time, I had a lot of I kind of moved into management. I was publicity director of my theater department, and then ended up doing marketing at Child's Play in Arizona. And so I had all this experience working on the front of the house now. And so I thought, well, I can take what I've learned and apply it to Timberlake. So, and do that with Jim. How fun. It was. And 2010 was probably the reason they were all sticking together in a way too. It was kind of like our first year to try this out. It was like the kids were taking over, is how we felt, in a sense. But we both had worked in other places, and we both knew we could do a lot. And I said, well, no matter what happens, no matter how long I'm there, I'm going to do what I can to help Timberlake. And so the things that I achieved there, for example, or we achieved together, is even the sign. When you would draw, I have a picture of me showing up in December at Timberlake after I lived in Arizona. By the way, I left Arizona for Timberlake, so that's how much I loved it. And so we worked about changing the sign. So I worked with the board and a donor, Gene Teeter, who donated a lot of things to Timberlake. I actually, my office was at the Campbellsville College there, and I had an office there, and then down below was Andy Bro and Gene Teeter. So I got to know Andy Bro very well, and Gene Teeter as well. Gene Teeter is actually one that referred me to my then assistant that I actually got for Timberlake, which I don't know if you have one, Dan, but I did because of the 50th season. We had a lot of additional projects we wanted to add on. And so we also painted the theater because Jim and I joked that it looked like a barn. So we wanted to give it a facelift. We started with the liquor sales, which is very controversial.
Yes,
and even for example, I converted us to have, I say us like I'm still there because it is like my family, for us to have online ticketing. So I started that. We had this really old box office system before that wasn't really tracking things and stuff. So whatever I used and whatever I worked in, I just used that knowledge and applied it to Timberlake to try to help Timberlake grow. And, and also trying to boost subscription sales and things like that. So,
well, it sounds like such a wonderful impact here while you were here, Melissa. And we are so thankful that, again, it's people like yourself and Jim and Brad and Andy, of course, and,
Andy Bro.
All of those who have come before us. One of the things that I love about when I came here in 2018 is just that legacy and that how we honor those people. We continue to want to talk about them and their importance and their roles, because again, Dan and I say this all the time, we are a part of a community that stretches back to 1961. Yeah. And Dan and I do today are only because of the work that you and the people that have come before us was able to lay the groundwork for. And so we're very thankful for that. Tell us about what you've been doing since you left.
Since Timberlake, I'm 42 now, so I'm not as kind of as the same shape or able to do summer stock. I think now I moved around a lot. I lived in New Jersey. First and foremost, I was a visual artist, and so I end up doing everything, but I knew that eventually I wanted to come back to Kentucky to home. And so I've done that, and I had a baby. So that's been my project, my best creation that I've ever made for sure. She's wonderful. and so that's what I kind of came back to my roots and came back home, especially with everything that's happening with COVID and stuff. So I've just been, I tend to go from theater to healthcare. So I work with seniors with dementia, and I have a couple of writing projects that I'm working on right now. I have a book that's coming out soonish, and I'm working on a recipe book actually that includes it'll have TLP in it because there was a lady. I don't think she's there anymore. Her husband was a board member, but Donna Lesman and Troy Lesman. Donna was our chef, and I'm going to actually include a couple of her recipes because food was very important out there at Timberlake, and that was one of the big things that we loved too about it. Is you go there, you get fed. You don't have to worry about your meals and things like that. And she was a good cook. And there are things that I still am talking about that she would make. So that's going to be included in
Donna was with
that I'm creating.
Until a couple of years ago when her business took off that she couldn't still work for us in the summer.
Oh, yeah. I feel bad for you because she was wonderful.
Her catering business took off. We have Donna cater for us. She catered some of the gala things. She catered the galas for the last, well, probably since they started in 2000, whatever year they started. She's been the caterer. I want to put up a couple of comments here. There we are. Okay. Kyle
Hi, Kyle. I remember I was around when Kyle was around.
Yeah.
Oh, Mary Catherine. Love her.
And there's Samantha.
Samantha, 2010. Beautiful belter. Woof, that girl.
Yeah.
She can sing.
If you ever want to come back to TLP and cook for the residents, we will.
No, I'm just putting together a recipe book. I'm not necessarily a chef or anything. But I wanted to visit last year, but I had a baby. So my plans, because I'm still very, very good friends with Tina Stratton, who was my assistant there, who did a lot for the company. I still keep in touch with Pam Sorg, who I can't leave here without mentioning her. She was like theater mama. When you're starting and young there, back when I started. And she actually, before the general manager position was created, she would do it off season, like all the publicity and making the posters and things like that. And then when the season would happen, they would have someone, I think like an intern or someone that was hired specifically just to do that for the summer that was a younger person. Till they were kind of like, oh, we should have one person do this all year, and kind of did that. So. But Pam Sorg, she would come and bring us food, and she was just like, there's so many people I could mention, and so many, unfortunately, people that have passed, like Jean Teeter, who was such a wonderful supporter, Paul Tobin, who was the lead over the Rotary Club, which I was a member of because I was there with Timberlake. That really broke my heart to hear when he passed, and because he was right next door, he was our neighbor, and a big supporter.
We bought the house.
I'm sorry.
Timberlake bought that house.
Oh, really? Really? Oh, wow.
The actor's guest house, the guest actor and the equity actor.
Wow. So many changes. I know I haven't been there since 2012.
Yeah, well, there's been a lot of changes since then.
Yeah, I know that it's closed in. I think what you guys are doing are great. I love hearing all about the stuff because it kind of started with the vision with Jim and I. We were thinking of that. A lot of board members were like, let's be year round. Let's see what we can do. And we started different projects even beyond, especially for the 50th, like starting Rocky Horror Picture Show there, and which was a whole new concept. And we had to figure out how in the heck we were going to do that. All the actors came for free, including Tate Ellis, who came, who was mentioned by Tyler, who we lost.
Well, I just got an email from those actors the other day saying, "Are we doing it?" And I had
it was a lot of fun. I was actually I was one of the characters, the maid. I don't remember her name, but and Jim I think was in it too the first time we did it because we were just like, who can do this? We can.
I wanted to mention this comment. Hyphen and I were talking about you the other day. I heard so much about Hyphen. And then, what was it, Paul? 2 years ago, we were doing a reunion at a New York reunion, And he comes in. It was throughout the entire night before I realized that was the hyphen that we had been talking
Hyphen
about
is
for
wonderful.
so long.
I used to, I
and
loved working.
Ryan and Kyle are both
Mhm.
working on many projects with us right now.
And I loved having him when I did. See, I knew Hyphen early on. When I would do props, because I'd be like, Hyphen, can you take? Because he could. I used to say he could take this camera, or he helped me like make a camera flash at grease. But I was like, he could take this thing, make it blow up, go into pieces, and then come back together, smoke. Like he could do anything.
Well, I don't know if you know this or not, but that's
He's called Hyphen is because he wears so many hats. He could be a tech director, he could be a prop master, he could be, and it just goes on and on and on. And it was really to bring he and Kyle back this summer and help us with the next phasing of our growth. It was just wonderful that they really hold TLP to that level as well. It means that much to them that they go out of their way. You know, Kyle helped us move a massive trailer behind the theater because he has having a rig. You know, so
well, I don't know if you know this or not, but Ryan now does this absolutely at the pinnacle of theater. He builds these kinds of things for NBC and ABC.
When I was in New Jersey, I actually got to connect with him a couple times, I think. So we still keep in touch. Yeah, he's great.
Bring Sawyer back because we're almost at the end of the evening.
Yay!
Hi.
So this is typically the time of night when we ask you to tell us like your favorite memory of TLP.
Oh.
It's not appropriate for Facebook.
On stage.
Well, we have had, you know, the memories have been kind of diverse. One of our Chicago actor friends talked about how he was caught in the woman's shower with his now wife, but at that time girlfriend, and he was caught in the shower there that night. And we're like, well, all right, we won't talk about that one too much. But anyway, favorite memory.
Favorite memory.
I don't have any good shower stories, but
I do.
Oh my Lord. Sorry, Mom. I think my favorite memory was it involves our friend Tate. So we've mentioned Tate a couple of times. Tate was a costume designer and probably one of the best costume designers I've ever worked with. His renderings were so amazing. Actually, the summer that I went there after he passed away, he had left like his whole book. And so I have all of his renderings that I thought about doing something with anyway. But so he designed all of Chicago to look a specific way. And then he met all of us, like the Velma Kelly, the Mary Sunshine, the Billy, all of us. And he was like, oh, this is all wrong. He was like, my energy for this is all wrong. And he literally ripped up his original designs, which were beautiful. Like they weren't just like sketches. It was like painted and framed, and he ripped them up. And then he stayed up all night redesigning it based off of our personality. And I think that set the tone for my whole time there, that it was like, oh, you've got to make this work for you. And you've got to really put in the work because you can't phone it in here.
Wow. What about you, Melissa?
Whew. One of our things that we would do sort of late at night, that ended up being something very special. It's a very little simple thing, but we would all go across. We probably weren't allowed, but we went across the field, across the road there, and into a field, and we would all just lay down flat and stare at the stars. You know, they talk about TLP being under the stars. I'm sorry.
I heard that was on Black Oak Road. You guys had laid on Black Oak.
That was
on Black Oak.
We did.
That was after them. That was like 2015 and 16. A practice that no longer
A practice that
happens.
Yeah, I didn't think we were supposed to do that, but we did.
Oh no, I was a little concerned. I was a little concerned about how we would recast everyone after the farmers drove over them.
Well, you know,
And other memories that I have, Brad Lyons. I don't know if Jim continued it. I don't think so. But one thing that when you would come to Timberlake is Brad Lyons would do is you would be initiated, and we would turn out all the lights on camp, and one person would start and go through, and you would have to find clues and stuff, and then the next person would go through, and he did that for years with people, and once you go through, then you help initiate in a sense. And it was just a lot of fun, like just kind of like to get everybody, and that's also what made you feel like you were in this community kind of thing, because you were just initiated, like you were part of some.
I do appreciate you cleaning up the initiation story.
yeah.
I think, and the one story I want to add that's really about the community is in 2012 we did Children of Eden, and the concept for our production of Children of Eden involved a lot of children, and it was told from the point of view of a little boy who was getting some sort of like frustration with his father at the beginning. And the little boy was God, and then in Act 2, God was his actual father. And so Act 1 was all the little boy reading Bible stories to like escape from the world that he was in. And then Act 2 was him going to school, and there's some sort of disaster, and the set actually collapsed in, and the kids were trapped underneath it. And then all of us that played the leads in Act 1 were the parents in Act 2, and we're like pulling the kids up out of the thing during Ain't It Good and all these things. But what was really powerful is that same time, there were 3 young people that had passed away really tragically in Mount Carroll. I think it had
2 separate things too.
Yes.
There was the grain bin.
And then that girl got electrocuted picking corn or something. And some of the kids in our show were friends with these kids, and watching the community and the kids in the show come together and heal through this art and through this story was really, really profound. And it's something I'll never forget. Like, there was something about the end of that show, because it was like direct address. We were all singing together, and the audience, it was just sort of this communal mourning and celebration. It was really, really beautiful.
Plus we were doing Bridge to Terabithia at the same time.
Oh, yes.
It was, and people would come and just be weeping, because I remember the sponsor of the show, he brought the food he was going to hand out, and then he left. He's like, I can't be here tonight because those children, everybody in the community knew them. And then I remember one of the little girls told Jim, she said, if I wasn't in the show, I would have been with that girl, like picking corn or whatever.
Yeah.
When she got electrocuted. So it was really, and we had tornadoes during that too.
Yes.
I remember we had to evacuate at one point and take all the children. And I think we even had
we went to that like it was a karaoke bar at the time. I don't know what it is now.
At Timberlake Resort.
Well, speaking of tornadoes, you were mentioning the rehearsal pad. You should see it now. It has a 60-foot oak tree laying across it.
Oh no!
Yeah, it's pretty much crushed.
Oh
so,
no!
Yeah, we just had the insurance folks out here last week, so we'll be looking at a little remodeling of that in the next in the next bit. Well, Melissa, it was so nice meeting you finally. Thank you.
You
so
too.
Thank you so much for coming on,
Tyler.
Well,
awesome to see you, buddy. I absolutely love listening to you and talking with you, and I hope we can get you out here to do something, especially now that we're Equity. Would love to see that happen.
Oh yeah, you're Equity now. Yay!
Yeah.
Good job.
Well, you guys are
great. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you.
Bye now.
Thank you both.
Well, that was awesome.
Great people. Absolutely.
I wanted to put up a couple of comments here, and I know we're running a little over, but we've got a couple people we need to show. David Mickelson, he was costume designer here in 80 and 81.
Wow, David, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Would love to see.
He was mentioning some of the folks that were out here, like Joe Montello, Jane Howdysell, Sandra Santiago.
We've had 2 of those 3 on the show, which is great.
Jane has been on the show. Sandra's been on the show. We're hoping to get Joe, but he's pretty busy. We've asked Jane to help us connect with him, and this is when Bill Raphael was artistic director, and I believe that he passed away just a couple of months ago.
Mm.
And I also wanted to mention Jason Kovich has said hello. You don't know Jason, but Jason was lived in the house. They owned the house. They bought it from Tobin's, and we bought it from Jason and his wife Jennifer. So thanks, guys. It's great to see you.
For being here.
When that gray truck goes past your house and honks, and you wonder who that is, that's me. I honk when I go past your house. So, Paul, tell us about Max Major.
Well, real quick, Dan, I'm really excited about this. So like I said at the beginning of the show, you know, we had really good feedback from our gala, and the gala was an interactive gala. So as everybody remembers, you bought your tickets, you got a party in the box. Well, Timberlake has partnered with a production company called Party in a Box, as well as Mills Entertainment, and we're going to be bringing you a show called Remote Control. We have a clip, so let's go ahead and run that clip.
It's Max Major. You've seen me demonstrate my abilities on America's Got Talent,
You're a demon. That's amazing.
The Today Show, and dozens of viral videos across the internet. I've controlled Heidi Klum's mind over Zoom.
That is so weird.
I have an unusual ability to get inside people's heads and know exactly what you're thinking. And now I'd like to invite you to Remote Control, a highly interactive Zoom show where I'll be getting inside of your head through the screen.
Look what I wrote on the paper.
This is a show unlike anything you've ever experienced. Predicting your thoughts,
oh my God,
controlling your actions, you won't believe your eyes.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah. So what's going to happen is we're actually going to be co-producing Remote Control with those two, with In the Box Productions and Mills Entertainment on October 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, and then again on the 10th, 11th, 10th, 11th, 12th, no, 12th, 11th, 12th, 13th of October. And we're going to be bringing out all the ticket information. It's a party in the box. So it's a limited seating. There's only, I think, 25 or 50 people that per show, because Max actually interacts with you. So you have your camera on, and we send you a box with all a deck of cards, pictures, and things that you'll be needing for the show. I saw the show. It's fantastic. Max is actually currently right now on America's Got Talent. He made the semifinals. So if you're a fan of America's Got Talent, tune in and watch Max, and then come back and get a ticket and watch Remote Control. It's a really great show. So more information on that will be coming up. We might even have Max on the show soon, but he is locked up in LA right now doing America's Got Talent. So we're really excited about that. More information to come on that, but everybody get ready for some more entertainment provided by Timberlake Playhouse coming at you virtually at home.
So that's October.
That's October.
We're working on something for November.
We are working
And
on
then
Christmas special for
December.
November.
We have. Tell about December.
Well, Christmas special. We're going to go Christmas. We're going to break out all of the. We're going to break it all out. We're going to bring all of our Broadway friends in to do Christmas shows, Christmas songs, and it's going to be a great event. And we're working on that now as well. So entertainment coming at you, because Dan, it's really important for Timberlake to stay connected to our audiences right now. We love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning into Timberlake Live. We really appreciate you. If you have any ideas, if you want to see something, please email us at info@timberlakeplayhouse.org and let us know what you're thinking. So thanks so much for tuning in tonight. We look forward to seeing you. Dan, always great to see you, and thank you so much.
Hey, thank you, Paul. Hey, and next week we have with us Brad Hughes and Chris French. They were with us in the 1994 season-ish, somewhere in there. They were here. They played Brad and Huck. Chris was a guest performer, and Brad was a company member. And then the following week, two of TLP favorites, Erica Stephen Ingram and Cody. Gosh, Cody's last name, Cody Jolly. And Cody Jolly will be here with us. I just went brain dead. Anyhow, we'll see you then. And remember, as we say every week, we're all in this together, and we're going to get out of it.